If you smell what The Rock is cooking. The Rock says, The Rock says, The Rock.
Hey posers, welcome to our Wrestling Revolution Tag Team Championship collab video for the Enigmas. I am the Black and White Delight, Grumpy Cheeto, and of course, here is my tag team partner, D-Jose 101.
Yo, can you see this belt right here? Yeah, take a good look at it. See it? Yeah, we're going to retain these things. Let's go ahead and kick some butt, Grumpy.
Thank you, D-Jose. And what this is going to be is this is our Tag Team Championship collaboration video for the Wrestling Revolution Tag Team Championships. I myself will be representing The Rock. D-Jose will be representing Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we are basically going to cover the shining moments, the upbringing, and the impact that both these men have left on the Attitude Era. And we're going to compare, in a positive manner, not in a negative, in a positive manner, of which one of these two left the best impact. So I will kick things off with the upbringing of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson started off his career in football because he's a big guy. He is a third-generation wrestler, but he did not initially intend to become a pro wrestler. After a while, it didn't work out for him, so he moved on and he joined WWE against his father's wishes. But his father did say that if you're going to be in wrestling, I am going to train you. So, with the help of Pat Patterson, he joined the WWE, and within 3 months, only 3 months, he became WWF Intercontinental Champion. Talk about a fast push. Rocky Maivia got it. So, let's turn it over to D-Jose for Stone Cold's upbringing.
Thank you, Grumpy, and I got to say, it's an honor to be here. And, all right, Stone Cold Steve Austin basically watched wrestling as a kid and wanted to be a professional wrestler all his life. And after getting a scholarship at Wharton County Junior College, followed by a full scholarship at North Texas State University, he played 4 years of football. He first entered wrestling in 1991 and being trained by gentleman Chris Adams out of the Dallas Sportatorium, where he wrestled in World Class Championship Wrestling. And he went to WCW there and was a great mid-carder there, and he joined Paul E's Dangerously Alliance, and he had a great last match, or Ricky Steamboat's last match against him, I believe at sometime September 2nd of 1992. And from there on, Austin tried to take off. He formed a tag team with Flying Brian Pillman, known as the Hollywood Blondes, but you all know the politics in the wrestling game. A lot of the top talent wouldn't get out of the way. So therefore, Stone Cold Steve Austin could not really make it anywhere in professional wrestling. And there's a little bit more to cover. He went to ECW there, became the ringmaster, feuded with Sandman and Mikey Whipwreck, and he was drinking his very first beer in ECW.
All right, well, next we're going to be talking about the shining moments where these two superstars kicked into high gear and where their careers took off. So, for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, as I said before, he got his first Intercontinental Championship within 3 months by defeating Hunter Hearst Homos, and just his career took off from there. He joined the Nation of Domination, became a heel character, feuded with Triple H and Owen Hart and Farouk, fellow Nation members. The guy became the leader of the Nation of Domination, but I think the point that really put him over was when he started his actual feud with Triple H. for the Intercontinental Championship. These two guys went pillar to post. And I mean, you know, even though he did not long after that win the WWE title, or WWF title, I mean, it was only 2 years into his career when he was winning the WWF title. In 1997, I mean, and 98 were the trend-setting years for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, winning multiple WWF championships, feuding with multiple superstars, forming joining the corporation with Vince McMahon, and you know, eventually you know, feuding with the corporate ministry as a face again. So this guy here, I mean, you know, I would say honestly that one of the matches that brought The Rock to the game was the ladder match at SummerSlam, 1998, because these guys, you know, they started to push him really hard. So I would say that that is where The Rock's shining moments began.
Well, I would say that, okay, Stone Cold Steve Austin, he began a little bit differently. In 1995, after Kevin Nash and Jim Ross helped convince Vince to sign Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was the ringmaster, and then he said, well, this isn't me. And he got paired up with Ted DiBiase and had a feud with Savio Vega, had a Caribbean strap match. And then Austin was like, you know what? This ain't me. I'm not going to do it like this. And then, as we all know, Austin's rise to superstardom, 1996, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. June 23rd, he defeated Mark Mero and Jake the Snake Roberts in the finals of the King of the Ring, and he said the famous catchphrase, you talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. And that ultimately became one of the best catchphrases in professional wrestling. But what really helped get him over was when Brian Pillman was saying to Stone Cold, you know, why don't you face Bret Hart? Why don't you face Bret Hart? And he would constantly get on Bret Hart when Bret Hart was on hiatus from WrestleMania 12 onward. And Bret Hart came back and had a classic series of matches with Stone Cold, culminating at Survivor Series 1996. And ultimately, at WrestleMania 13, and probably Austin's best match in his entire career against Bret the Hitman Hart, where he passed out, there was a double turn, all that stuff. And from then on, Austin began to become huge. But his biggest moment would not come until after some adversity with Owen Hart dropping him right on his head. And also mentioning The Rock, he set his sights on The Rock, and they had a feud over the Intercontinental title. And then Austin managed to throw the Intercontinental title into a New Hampshire river. And then he had a feud with Vince McMahon, which I'll get into that later. But his biggest moment was against Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14 when he gave him the stunner and Mike Tyson counted to 3. And that was Austin's, in my opinion, biggest defining moment.
Next, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the in-ring ability of these two superstars, basically highlighting some of their signature and finishing moves. Both these guys really don't have too great of in-ring ability, but these guys bring both these guys bring flash to everything that they do. Looking at The Rock's, you know, signature moveset, you know, he's always had that float over snap DDT. He's had the running swinging neck breaker, the running swinging lariat. I mean, the guy brought spark to everything. He had that Samoan drop, and of course the spine buster that led into the people's elbow, one of the most popular elbows in the business. People have tried to replicate it, and they just can't do it. He would also do the sharpshooter, although lazily. He would never do it right, but he would do the sharpshooter, and a running shoulder breaker, which was something that he used a long time ago. He really didn't use it too much once he became The Rock. The people's elbow, of course, was one of the trend-setting moves. Never a finisher, but always was one of his follow-ups to that spine buster. A lot of people have tried to mimic it, like Scott Steiner, MVP. You know, a lot of people have tried to mimic the people's elbow in one way or another, and just haven't had that same flash as The Rock. And of course, the rock bottom, the jumping STO, or however you want to call it, whatever the technical term is for it. That move can come out of nowhere, and he'll hit you with it hard. The Rock has always been one to, just put a little flash into his moves, and that rock bottom, he'd always put some flash on. So let's turn it over to you, D. Jose.
All right. Well, Stone Cold Steve Austin had the back body drop. He had the catapult, the clothesline, leapfrog guillotine, and that would be a move where he would drape him over the second rope. The classic mud hole stomps where he'd do stomps repeatedly in the chest, give him the finger, and then stomp him one more time. And then the elbow drop from the second rope. He would hit a spine buster. The thing about Stone Cold was he was always kind of like, he came off as aggressive and psychotic whenever he would wrestle. He may not have had the best moves like The Rock either, but these two men, basically all you have to have is 5 to 10 moves of moveset, and then you get over. These two guys may not have had good psychology in the ring, but at least they knew what moves to deliver and what the crowd would pop for. And Austin would also do the Thez press, and he would do the Rock bottom. But here's the catch. He would only do it when he was feuding with The Rock. And, of course, he was known for the Stone Cold Stunner, which I'd have to give credit to The Rock for actually being one of the best people to sell the Stone Cold Stunner. Grumpy, over to you.
Next, we're going to talk about promos, which is basically outside of the ring, and things that they did outside of the ring. So we're not talking about matches here. We're talking about like promos, backstage interview segments, stuff that really, just put these people over. The Rock, well, I mean, geez, everybody has seen The Rock's promos backstage, in the ring. His antics that he's performed. He's got all of those catchphrases. The pie eating, show stealing. He's got more than Ric Flair. I'm sorry. He picks on the coach, Michael Cole. He's always trying to put people under to get a crowd reaction. No interviewer was safe from The Rock. On top of that, The Rock has done so many things, like promo-wise, just because he is an electric performer. Like they say, he's the great one. That's, well, for a reason. Anyway, so he is one of the best promo artists I have ever seen in my life. And I mean, I have never liked him in the ring, but on the mic, he is grade A+. Over to you, D. Jose.
Well, I would have to say, yeah, while The Rock was able to cut great promos, Austin was as well. With the promos that he would always cut, like on guys like Bret Hart, he would be like, at first, I have to admit, Stone Cold sounded very generic with his promos, being like, well, Bret, you're a baby, you're a loser. But then as time went on, he got more edgier, and he went there. He cussed people out. He flipped the finger off at him. He would always call Vince like an a-hole, and he would go there and really get edgy before edgy was cool. The world was changing at the time in the 1990s anyway, and who better to lead that anti-hero character than Stone Cold? The things that he did, the moments that he had, the Zamboni, the beer truck, the cement truck filling McMahon's Corvette car with cement. What else could he do to him? Stuffing Paul Bearer down a sewer with Kane. I remember that. Just all the great moments. Being hung by The Undertaker on a cymbal. Just so many great moments and matches that Austin had, that this career is a one of a kind, and I doubt that we will ever see anything like Austin or The Rock ever again. Take it away, Grumpy.
All right, well, now we move into the last portion of this debate between me and D. Jose in regards to which person is better from the Attitude Era. We're going to talk about the impact that these wrestlers left. And starting with The Rock, we all know the impact The Rock has left. We have classic moments of like the Rock and Sock connection, the corporation, matches upon matches, Rock versus Hogan, Rock versus Austin. The Rock was willing to work with everybody. He was willing to put people over, believe it or not. A lot of people said he didn't, but actually he was willing to put a lot of people over. The company just didn't let him put people over. His feuds with Triple H were epic. the impact that The Rock, and I mean, obviously, one of the highest drawing segments in wrestling history was an 8.4 rating during Rock, This Is Your Life, between The Rock and Sock Connection. It is one of the highest rating segments in WWE history. Now The Rock is back. The Raw ratings have been going up. Austin's been back several times over the years, but he's never drawn the ratings. Even when they promote him, he hasn't drawn the ratings that The Rock has since The Rock has returned. And I have to admit, The Rock's promo since he's returned has been pretty good. So the impact has just been stellar by The Rock. I mean, even after he left, to do some movies. And he's done several movies and television shows. Obviously his first starring role was in The Scorpion King, which he was also in The Mummy Returns prior to that. I've seen these movies. A lot of The Rock's movies I've seen, and a lot of them I've loved. He is an awesome supporting actor, and he's not that bad of a starring actor. I've seen The Scorpion King, The Rundown, Walking Tall, Gridiron Gang, The Game Plan, Get Smart, Race to Witch Mountain. And honestly, his supporting role in the other guys. And I really have to say that The Rock has done a good job in whatever role they've put him in. Also, the television shows he's been in has been That 70s Show, Star Trek Voyager. He's been on Saturday Night Live a couple times. I do believe 3 episodes. He's been on Hannah Montana and Wizards of Waverly Place, but we're not talking about that. And, of course, Family Guy. So Dwayne The Rock Johnson has honestly left his impact on the entertainment world and the wrestling world. And honestly, I think that The Rock is a stellar actor. The guy's never been good in the ring, but he has left an impact on the business that no one can duplicate.
Well, I would have to say, I would have to give you this. In terms of movie and TV career, I got to give it to you. You got me beat on that one. Because with Austin, let's look at the TV shows and movies he's been in. He started out all in television. Started out with Celebrity Deathmatch for about 4 years. He played himself for 4 seasons. He was a great Clay character, and I remember the match he had with Vince McMahon. It's a lot better than the stuff you see nowadays. And then he had Nash Bridges for 6 episodes. And then he was on Dilbert and the Bernie Mac show. That was a real good show. And then Chuck, and then this is something that The Rock may get involved in, but Austin is the host and Tough Enough. And then when you look at Austin's movie career, the best that he did as a sidekick supporting role would have to be The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Goldberg, Nash, Great Khali, those guys. And then he went to The Condemned, which Santino Marella made a mockery of that, and I thought that was great for Austin's character overall, was in Damage. And a lot of these films, I have to give Stone Cold credit, despite how good he may have been in, a lot of these were direct-to-video, unlike The Rock, who actually didn't really do direct-to-video. He was actually in theaters, so you have me beat there. He starred in The Stranger, The Expendables, and Hunt to Kill, and he's got 3 more movies coming out later on this year that will most likely be direct-to-video, if anything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have enjoyed this debate between me and this friendly debate between me and D Jose 101 in regards to the Attitude Era's 2 trend-setting people. Please leave your opinions in the comment box and, just let us know what you think. We try to bring you the best that the Revolution has to offer. And speaking of the Revolution, please go to WrestlingRevolution.com, the epic center for all of your wrestling needs if you've not been there. I could try to push and plug the site, but just go there and check it out. We've got everything there. So anyway, D. Jose, go ahead and close yourself out, and then I'll close out the show.
All I'd like to say is, while we've done this debate, it's been a pleasure being here. And no doubt, without The Rock and Austin, arguably the 2 men that have saved the professional wrestling business, I can guarantee you right now we would not be here having this debate. So on behalf of Grumpy and myself, I'd like to say thank you to Stone Cold and The Rock for transcending wrestling and saving the wrestling business. And to our opponents, we wish you luck. but we are doing our best to keep these things right here, as you can see. And I am out.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Legend top that, posers.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.